Your name is John Disney, and you like money, lots of money, and the Disney Renaissance just came to an end. The years 2000 through 2002 have been successful, but it's clear the new era of the post-Renaissance has begun. Sequels to classics have come out such as Little Mermaid 2, Return to the Sea, Cinderella 2, Dreams Come True, and Lady and the Tramp, Scamp's Adventure. But there was also new movies on the list that did really well, like Lilo and Stitch, Treasure Planet, and Monsters, Inc. Naturally, Disney would like to capitalize off of something, and as of this point in their history, ride-based movies have been massive successes. You know, like the instant classic Tower of Terror, about a tower of terror or something. You actually can't find this anywhere. They literally hate this movie. Or the Academy acclaimed hit Mission to Mars. I don't even think the ride is in the park anymore. Okay, but this one was a smash hit. The Country Bears. A story about an Ewok going across Endor to find other musical Ewoks to get the band back. Literally Blues Brothers, without the blues or the brothers or the good music, which is blues, but shut up.
We're on a mission from God.
This is actually one of those movies that didn't gross as much as its budget. Huge surprise there. So being that ride adaptations were so successful, John Disney thought, let's do another one. But instead of using rides from Tomorrowland or wherever the Ewok ride is, use one from Adventureland inside of the Magic Kingdom. And while we're at it, let's choose a topic around such a successful genre, because pirate movies have never done bad before. Like, you know, all the great movies you've heard of before, like Swashbuckler, The Pirates of Penzance, or I guess the Goonies. So anyways, with your subgenre and your ride selected, you've chosen to make a film about the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. I didn't know this, but apparently the ride's been around since like 1967, which is kind of cool if you think about it. Truthfully, you can't talk about Pirates of the Caribbean without talking about the ride because it's kind of the inspiration for the film. A journey through the bayou and the surrounding show off houseboats and skulls. The boat that the passengers are in dives down into a cave, and the voices underground in Dead Man's Cove talk about the message, "Dead men tell no tales," you know, not a movie. The ride carries on past battles against Spanish forts and pirate raids with the Wicked Wench. Riders continue on their journey through a pirate town and are able to enjoy the song A Pirate's Life for Me. You even see the inspiration for what will become Josh Me Gibbs, a man sleeping in a pig's pen. A shootout follows and the ride pretty much ends where it began. It was actually considered one of the most popular rides in the park and was sent out to the other parks at some point or another. As I've done my rewatch of Pirates of the Caribbean Curse of the Black Pearl, I really have to admit it was refreshing. The movie is so incredibly lively. It's clear there was a lot of energy from the cast behind the scenes. Every aspect of the film is really fun. It's a swashbuckling adventure with pirates, supernatural entities, fantasy, and a touch of historical accuracies and inaccuracies.
Scotland forever!
I know what I said in my Barbenheimer video, so I don't really have any interest in beating a dead horse, but where did this go? I haven't really gotten around to my most recent rewatch of Dead Men Tell No Tales, but Curse of the Black Pearl is incredibly special. The story is to the point, the characters are exhilarating to follow, and it's just a fun experience. There are a few movies that I watch nowadays where I really get this vibe. It's not even the fact that the story is fun, but the visuals are all great. You feel like you're on a tall ship, whether it be the Black Pearl, Intrepid, or Dauntless. And I'm not gonna lie, this movie is exclusively why I have an obsession with tall ships, and it's, seriously, I want one. I don't live near a body of water and I want one. Sword fights are epic, but there's something else that truly shines. The CGI was amazing. Pirates of the Caribbean somehow stands the test of time better than The Flash, or whatever else came out last year that looked atrocious.
What the fuck?
Industrial light and magic, which were a huge part in making Star Wars and Jurassic Park work, made everything look amazing in this movie. They credited the skeletons for the cursed pirate crew after all. In 2003, it was extremely hard to make what they did work, but something about trying to push the limits of movies in the early 2000s really helped innovate the landscape. I mean, before every movie was laced with green screens, movies like Pirates, Transformers, Avatar, Lord of the Rings, Narnia, King Kong 09 version, and District 9 all were huge. These movies pushed their incentive to make CGI as incredible as possible, this spectacle if you will. And it's kind of wild to see how the visuals look fantastic, being 21 years old this year. When you start off this trilogy, it really does depend on who's watching, but it's really solid. There are some critical changes that happen at Dead Man's Chest and at World's End, but we'll get into that with the other videos. The real joy happens with Pirates 4 and 5. So, by this point, I guess I should do a recap of the plot or something, so, Here goes nothing. We start out listening to a little girl singing A Pirate's Life for Me, which is super cool because that's in the ride, and then Mr. Gibbs freaks out of the song. Cursed pirates sail their waters, and that's bad luck. Of course, Lieutenant Norrington likes to peep and creep openly in front of Elizabeth's father.
Commodore.
They find a boy next to Mary Poppins' umbrella, and his name is Will Turner. And he's a pirate, one with a magical medallion. They don't tell the British though. Elizabeth takes the medallion and wakes up from a dream. Adult Elizabeth is heading out to the fort for her predator, who is becoming Commodore Norrington. But wait, the little boy has transformed into Orlando Bloom, and Elizabeth fancies a blacksmith boy who she dreamed about.
Sense of propriety.
Coming into Port Royal is Jack Sparrow, the greatest character introduction of all time. Don't at me. At the celebration for Nunce Norrington, Elizabeth is pushed to the edge where her dress chokes her out and she wins a cannonball contest. The very first one, actually. This creates an outward shock, alerting the pirates about the medallion's location. An escape, a sword fight, a capture, and a battle happen. Elizabeth essentially ends up on the Black Pearl because she named herself Turner. Foreshadowing? I think not. Also, she learns that she's living in a ghost story because Captain Barbossa's crew are all cursed skeletons and they all do their spooky moonlight dance. Will needs Jack and Jack needs his ship, Pirate's Life. They get a British ship and travel to Tortuga. We get some really cool parallels to the actual ride, and it immerses the viewers into the pirate's life. The crew is gathered and they go for their hunt for Ilha de Muerta. When they arrive, Barbossa is cutting Elizabeth's hand and learning that she's actually not a Turner, and she and Will escape to the Intrepid, leaving Jack behind after Will uses Jack as his leverage. Parlay is said about 300 times because French people,
Never be the French.
and Jack becomes prisoner.
Stop blowing holes in my ship!
The epic ship battle begins, the first of the series, and it does not disappoint. Sword fights, boarding other vessels, and cannon fire. The monkey gets the medallion, and Will dies. Just kidding, he's alive. Elizabeth and Jack are dropped off at Rumrunner's Isle, and Elizabeth learns that Jack wasn't actually such a hero. She loses respect for him, but she uses her big brain to use the rum to create the first nuclear burnout. Her stalker smells her and sends boats from the Dauntless to the island. Jack is gonna die, but that's okay, he's gonna help. Jack and Norrington have a not-so-funny moment in the boat waiting for the pirates.
To be quite honest with you,
Jack is able to get to the pirates, make a deal, and send the cursed guys out to fight with the British. Jack's entire debacle was making a deal for himself, and then he betrays his friend. The battle and the duels begin, epic fights everywhere. The curse is broken by Will, and they all win, except Jack. He's gonna get abandoned and sent to the gallows. Good thing it's a Disney movie, we know they'll never show anyone getting hung, like kids. A fight breaks out where Will is dressed like a goddamn musketeer for some unknown reason. It's really stupid, but I love it. Jack is able to escape as Elizabeth expresses that she doesn't like the grown-ass man who's been hitting on her since she was like, I don't know, 10?
Then you know what that makes you? A pedophile.
Elizabeth and Will have their little moment. Jack does a funny, loses his cannonball contest to Elizabeth, and returns to the Black Pearl, happily ever after. If we're being honest, Pirates of the Caribbean obviously was a Hail Mary. Like, there was nothing going for this, like nothing. And what made matters worse, the supporting character was acting like Keith Richards. You know, that's a good fit for a kids movie.
Whack it down while you can get it. It's something you do on the run.
I'm obviously joking, but Disney's CEO at the same time doesn't like money apparently, and he was quoted as saying that Jack Sparrow was, in quotes, ruining the movie after having seen a cut of it. Luckily, people back then had the power to tell the CEO off and push forward the creative direction of the movie. The reality of Pirates is that it really shouldn't have gotten off the ground, in a way. The track record of these 3 ride-based movies were awful. They were 3 for 3 misses, and the fact that they would choose one based in a subgenre like Pirates was really outlandish. When production began in 2002, Treasure Planet hadn't even been released yet, so they had nothing aside from, I don't know, The Goonies to gauge their success on. But despite how little of a chance this movie had going for it, it worked for a reason, and it genuinely seems to surprise people. The reason is the main character isn't Jack Sparrow. Don't get me wrong, after Curse of the Black Pearl, Jack is 110% the main character of the series. It's one of the biggest changes that is implemented in the sequel, but this movie's primary focus is on Will and Elizabeth. It could be debated on which one is the main character, but I'm not going to do that, because these are their arcs. Will's arc follows an upstanding young man, whose accomplishments in blacksmithing are underappreciated, like everyone else. He takes it in stride and works dedicatedly. He has feelings for Elizabeth, but due to class standing, he can't be a typical Disney princess, if you will. After standing up to Jack and then breaking him out, he learns that his father was a pirate.
That's impossible!
He becomes like Jack, but his views are much different. Jack's one motivation is getting the pearl, no matter who gets in the way, as long as he wins. Will wants what's best for people he cares about, so he does that. By the end, he understands that a person's actions determine who they are, not what society thinks of them.
Sense of propriety.
Elizabeth is defined by her class, but her yearning for adventure makes her feel trapped. She's able to read as a governor's daughter and wishes for the life of a pirate. When she gets it, she runs from it, and then slowly embraces it. She is truthfully very Princess Leia coded, and I'm here for it. Her arc, I feel, resolves when she makes the decision to reject what she was forced into, being the marriage to her nonce Commodore.
I'm not a pedo.
She at the end chooses the side of Will and Jack and what's best for her. Will and Elizabeth are the lifebeat of the story of Pirates of the Caribbean. Their arcs are intended to be the focus for viewers. However, things don't always go the way they're planned to go. Because while Will and Elizabeth work perfectly fine for a story about swashbuckling pirates, young romance, and adventure, Pirates of the Caribbean works because of Jack Sparrow. I've spoken highly about just about everything in this, aside from Jack and the music, both of which bring the entire movie to a grand slam. Without Jack Sparrow being so Jacky, this movie doesn't land nearly as hard. I believe it still would work, but I don't believe it would have ever been as memorable as it is. Jack's role is defined by a singular objective, to get to the pearl, no matter who or what gets in the way. It's why he's so piratey, because his focus is only on what is best for him and no one else. Johnny is truthfully so masterful in the role, and without him, the series would probably be nothing. Placing him into a supporting role in the first movie initially allows for Elizabeth and Will to be the main focused and have the focused arcs in the story, but it just allows Jack to flourish in the background. I could talk about the music here, because it's really brilliant, but there's other Pirates movies that come next.
Jacksparrow.
Which is pretty rad if you think about it, so stay along for the journey and we could talk more about the curse of a really good start. Anyways, I love you all, and cut.